Some of you, I don't know if the Gambians, some may be aware, but most African Americans know that Kwanzaa is a very big highlight in our community in America. And I think that there's something that we can do throughout the year and every day is to practice cooperative economics, Ujima, and Ujima. Ujima is an economic system that they use in Tanzania. I believe that President Julius Nyerere, he came up with that concept of bringing this thing all together. And so the second thing I want to discuss in more detail is the buying power of African Americans. Women affairs, I can't get too much to there right now, but some things that I think maybe next time. And so when we talk about Africa and what we can do to move Africa forward, I mean, there's some things that we have to make sure that are priority. And right now, it seems that Africa is not a priority for some Africans in the diaspora in America. It's obvious, right? If we got $1.1 trillion coming up next year, that the buying power that we can do, and imagine if that was going to just Gambia alone. I mean, just Nigeria. I mean, there's so many things that we can do here. I mean, that the asset is there. It's there. So we have to figure out a way in terms of how can we turn the economy around for those who do want to come back home on a pilgrimage, but I hear a lot of brothers and sisters say, I don't want to go home broke. I can stay broke in America. You understand? And so we have to really look at the numbers too and say, well, in terms of economic development, how can we turn this thing around? And I think it's really pertinent in terms of how we're going to view Africa and how Africa is going to evolve past the 21st century, that we need some collateral. We need some asset. We need some economic development. And we have economic power. And this is just one place. This is just one place, one small place that we can make this change.
All right. We were talking about culture a while ago, and I really want to put a little spin on this thing, the idea of culture. When one speaks about African culture, what are we really talking about? So we hear people talk about African culture, and we're trying to figure out, okay, 50 different countries in Africa. You have people in Ethiopia that do something different from the people in South Africa. You have the people in South Africa doing different from the people in Senegal. We really have to redefine what is our African culture, or really examine, when we say African culture, what we really mean, because culture, as Mr. Garvey has pointed out, is the basis for all of the other disciplines. If you talk about anthropology, sociology, religion came out of culture, it's not culture come out of religion. So there was a cultural expression of the people that actually lead to certain religious practices based off of people wanting to understand the meaning of things around them. So in that light, culture is part of that liberation. The liberation of black people can only come through cultural expression, not just dancing and singing, because they have us in that quagmire of dancing and singing. Black people feel they can dance the way out of all the problems and sing the way out of all the problems. You know, we need to develop strategies in the little spaces that culture define: anthropology, archaeology, sociology, religion, all of these things. We have to put them together in a more practical way. So the culture have to be examined when we talk about African culture. I think we sometimes mix up African culture with African heritage. Because we also do that in Jamaica. We say heritage and not talking about culture. We say culture not talking about heritage, because Jamaica don't have a Jamaican heritage. We develop Jamaican cultural expressions, but it's not our heritage. You know, and really we have to look into that. Give thanks.
I'd like to furtherly extend my respect to the elders here, to all royal and distinguished guests. Thank you very much for making it possible for us with your summary of our black history, and each and everyone who are presently here. Now, we need to unite ourselves, heritage, culture, and all, economically, socially, to advance the welfare of our people. No, we can't just cry about the pain we felt through the transatlantic slave trade or through the ism and schism designed by the present-day colonial slave masters. But we need to amalgamate our resources. We need to get together and know ourselves more and work towards the development and stability of the continent of Africa. People in the Western diaspora, as Rastaman like to correct a lot of these words, diaspora. I'm not dying, I'm living. So I'd say in the livispora, people around there need to come to Africa. We need to open the doors of not just saying repatriation, because we're going to be repatriated, yes, but what are we going to do when we get here? And what plans and I would say development programs are being structured for the people in Africa and the people out of Africa coming to Africa and living to Africa reality. We need to show the world that we were the first, and we need to start now. So very much with all your help, we need to pool our resources together in whatsoever faculties you can and develop the continent. I'm honored being here because I represent all the people in the world as black people, not just the diaspora, not just a mansion. So please get together. I like what I'm seeing. I'm happy. I'm honored being here. I would like to say thanks very much to the Presidium, the government of Gambia, the President and the Minister of Tourism for hosting my fellow brothers and myself here and sisters concerning the redemption of black people. I stand for black international repatriation, redemption for black people and the development of the continent. Not just to say repatriation coming here, but we need to build model cities, new reservoir, new universities, and so on, so we can take our children out of the McDonald's, out of the Burger King, out of all those colonial structured, because the world, I would say, for the colonial slave masters, they're just preparing us for the job markets. We get our degrees. We've done everything possible to be educated in a sense, but only to go back and work for the slave master, to boom our, I would say, rocket their business through the roof. We're not for that. We're for the upliftment and the rise of Africa. Put our differences aside, get to know our presidents, as I would like to extend our presidents on the continent of Africa need to come together privately and sort out the matters for Africa. Thank you very much. I'm honored being here, and I'm happy on behalf of the Jamaican family and the black people of the world. Ja.
This is what I heard all the speakers saying here today. Let's get together and do something. And I hope this is not just said, but that there are straits, passages, some kind of system where we can identify our talents and begin to build and not just talk.
Thank you very much. This is very touching, this meeting here of us descendants of people who have been here before. This is significant of a tragedy, the tragedy which was lived by our ancestors, you know, in the colonies, in the Americas, in the Caribbean, in North America, South America. The tragedy which has been lived by the descendant fighting for recognition as human being, fighting for their rights since in the 1960s. You have the civil rights movements in the Americas in order for people to fight, to recognize their right to be there and to vote and to be part of the human civilization. The tragedy still continues. For instance, I remember these words from President Mugabe, you know, at the address of Condoleezza Rice, you know, sort of talking of her as a descendant of this girl descendant of slaves, which is significant of two things. On the one hand, of the problems of the descendant of Africans, of us, embracing the Western cultures and then now representing this culture and fighting for them. What I would like to say here is for us to realize also in our aspiration and efforts that we are living in a world which is a vision of the white man. The world as it is a vision of the white man. The problem is very often, let's say from our side as individuals, as groups, or even from the perspective of African countries, we are trying to fit in the vision of the white man. This is the basic problem, such that we need to realize at this point that we need to develop a vision of our own, a vision of an African vision of the world, of a different world, of a world in which values are different. Actually, this was also very strongly highlighted by Dr. Garvey. I thank you very much for your contribution in that respect. This is extremely important for us to realize that the point is not just to make projects so that we can fit in, because This development